So, a couple weeks ago, June the 19th to be exact, I woke up at like 2:40 in the morning. I'm not a morning person. And my dad and I and Mama drove us to Salem Baptist Church, where we were going to get on a van and head to Raleigh, Durham, and fly to Miami, and then fly to Honduras. And this will be my first ever mission trip. And so I'm going to tell you guys all about that. But when I got back, Jennifer was like, I wish Dennis would have let you speak because I want to hear, and I know everybody wants to hear about your trip. And so jokingly, that Sunday, I went up to Dennis, and I was like, you should have let me speak about Honduras. And he was, well, do you want to speak? I was like, well, I guess. He said, the fourth Sunday, you're going to take Norman's spot. So, before I start, if you guys would pray with me. Father God, we thank you. We thank you that we're able to come into this house this morning and worship you, God, and learn more about you and just fellowship with one another. God, I thank you for what you allowed me to experience in Honduras, Lord. I thank you. I praise your name. Lord, I ask that you use me as your vessel during this time, God, that I would share with others what you would have me to say, Lord, and that someone might be brought closer to you this morning. Lord, I thank you for all of your many blessings. God, I lift up all the prayer requests that have been mentioned this morning. Lord, I just ask that you be with me and that I would speak your words this morning, Lord. In your precious name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so, Dennis got me this cool little clicker thing.
It's because I'm a cool old guy.
So, that first picture on the left is of my dad and I, who's sitting right there. And if it wasn't for him, then I wouldn't have been able to go to Honduras. I wanted to go since I was like 13, I think. But the
You turned the computer off.
Turn the computer off? I was trying to turn the lights off. Is it back?
We're sorry. We're sorry.
I'm sorry.
We're sorry.
I'm sorry. We couldn't see.
Oh, it's on this.
Yes.
It's on this.
College for technical difficulties. Very quietly among yourselves.
don't you love technology, Tom?
Yes.
Make one. Well, that's entirely true. Oh, let's get that. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's hard to shut that power off.
Jennifer, never mind. It's gonna come back.
Yeah, tell us about it. We got a good night.
I can tell you about it? Okay. So that first picture was Daddy and I. And like I said, without him, I wouldn't have been able to go because the age requirement for the North Carolina Baptist Men's missions has always been 16. And I'm the baby in my grade. I'm a junior this year, but I'm still only 15. So I had asked our preacher about it, and I really wanted to go. You know, I felt like that was something that the Lord would have me do is, you know, go be a missionary. And so anyway, our pastor's wife came up to me this year and said, Jana, the age requirement for Honduras has been changed to 15. Do you want to go? And I was like, here you go. That's God saying go. And so the other rule is that you have to have a parent guardian if you're under 18. And so my mama, bless her heart, does not fly. She does not do airplanes. And she always told me, she said, if you go, your daddy's going to go with you. I was like, oh. So I said, Daddy, can we please go to Honduras? And he's a principal, and so he has to work throughout the summer except for Fridays. And he was like, well, I'll see if I can get off for summer school. And at the time, I was still in the process of auditioning for governor's school, so I didn't even know if I'd be able to go yet. Well, I prayed about it, and when I didn't get accepted into governor's school, I was like, Daddy, we have to go. This is what we're supposed to do. And so it worked out that he could take off work and go with me to Honduras. So I'm very thankful for that. And the picture on the right was us in the airport once we landed in Miami. That was our whole team. And so I think we took, what, 7 from our church? Yeah. And then we had 3 guys join us from Oklahoma. So that was pretty cool. It's still not working.
Just give me a second, the projector's not coming back on for some reason. We've got power now, that's okay,
Okay.
but just give me a second, I don't know if it needs to cool down a little bit, I'm turning it on and off, I'm not sure what. Aha, green light just came on, I'm not gonna do it. Hold on. I see light. And God said,
Let
There
me
was
know.
light. And there was.
and it was, right. And all his people were introduced. All right, give me just a second, we'll get you back on there.
Okay.
I'm going to say something while we're pausing here for a second. I am so very proud of Jana Hunter for asking to do. I was telling her this morning, Dylan, too, many of you were here when Dylan was still with us during the day, and we were with us today. That was a tiny little club. So he filled in for me, but Dylan spoke shortly before he left for college one Sunday morning, and I remember Dylan's message to us was that the youth of today, and we talked about them being the church of tomorrow, the first day of the church of tomorrow, they're the church of today. And if we're not training them up today, when us old codgers, like me and Woodrow, I'm not near as old as he is, you get the idea. When we set up and can't go anymore, young people like Jana who have stood up and who've been given an opportunity when they want to stand up, like Dylan and many others. Those people are the church of today, and they are going to be absolutely the church trained up for tomorrow. So I'm very proud of this young man. All right, Carla, you ready?
Okay. So, on to that. Okay. So the first day, once we landed at Tegucigalpa Airport, we'd gone through immigration and everything. It was pouring rain. It started raining. And normally the ride from Tegucigalpa to where we were staying at the Mount Horeb Baptist camp would be like 2.5 hours. But they were doing road construction in Honduras. So it's like Highway 24 on steroids, basically. And so it took 7 hours instead of 2.5 because we had to stop. And, you couldn't like stop and go to the bathroom because you never know when traffic's going to start moving again. So that was a struggle. But anyway, God got us through it. So the first day when we get to the work site, we had about an hour drive to the work site. It was still raining. And our goal, first and foremost, was to build a house for this lady at the bottom. Her name is Miss Christina, and she's, I think, 86 years old and has been living in a plastic house for the past 25 years. She and her son. And so when we get there, it's raining, and we're like, what are we going to do? So we put on our ponchos, and Pastor Carlos, who was the Honduran who was kind of over our project, said we need to work as fast as we can. I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing. How am I supposed to work as fast as I can? So before we worried about it too much, we started praying, and we just asked God that the rain would stop so that we could get done what we had intended to do, if that was His will. And about 15 minutes later, I think it was, the rain stopped. And we were able to start working on the house. So this first picture at the top, you see him putting the first little hole thing in. In that second picture, you see the Hondurans. They're shoveling the dirt into this little sifter type thing to get the rocks out of it so they can use it to make the mescula or the cement that we use. Oh, that's cool. That right there. Okay. And right here is us praying over the first block. The man with his hand on the block is Miss Christina's son. And that's the tradition every year. They pray over the first block of the house. And then right here is me taking a siesta because after lunch, I was tired. And so I took a nap in that little chair there. Okay, so the second day, the first day we were only supposed to do 5 levels of the house. But by God's grace, the rain stopped and we were able to actually get 6 done, so we were ahead of schedule. That first picture is, his name is Mr. Chris. He's a pastor from Oklahoma, and he's cutting the center blocks with a chainsaw because you have to make like channels and other different kinds of blocks to make the house work. I don't know about construction, so that's about as good as it is. But anyway, and then this picture right here is me holding the board while Daddy puts the vestibule in between the blocks. Here is a few of us playing soccer with the Honduran children during our lunch break. And right here is us helping at Vacation Bible School. We had, I think it was a 3-day Bible school for the children at the church, and it was actually like right across from our work site, so that worked out really well. And we ended up having like 100 children. We were expecting just the church children, so even with all the teachers we had with us, that was very chaotic. But once the majority of the children had to go back to school, it kind of calmed down, and we were able to get our purpose accomplished. People. This was probably one of my most favorite parts of the trip. This guy right here, his name is Manuel, and he's probably about 16 years old. And he has some type of disability, and we're not sure what it is. But as soon as we got to the work site, he was the first one to hug every single one of us. And he carried buckets of water to make the cement. He was hands-on and all in this project, and he just loved on each of us. And I think that being around him was definitely a God moment for all of us. This little boy right here, he's my age, or a little bit younger. He's 14, and his name is Josue. And he's holding the lady's cat, and its name was Micho. And Josue came to Bible school, I think, the second day, but he had seen us on the work site the first day. And I don't really speak Spanish that well, but I was able to, introduce myself. And at Bible school the next day, I was helping some of the other kids, and all of a sudden I heard somebody say, "Jana." I was like, "What? That's me." And so that was really sweet. These are 2 little girls that came up to us on the work site and played with us some. And then right here is Miss Christina. This is our translator, Ingrid, and that is our driver. And his name was Moises, something like that, but it's Moses in English. And then here you see the house. That was after the first day, the first picture. This was the second day. And then this is when it was totally completed. This is us, our team, Miss Christina and her son, and some of the people from the church. So we were able to finish your house. And then these are just some miscellaneous pictures. I do want to draw attention to this right here. So every day for lunch, we were asked to pack our own sandwiches, take them with us to the work site, put them in the cooler. Well, the 3rd day, the ladies from the church had invited us to make tortillas with them. And they told Pastor Carlos that they were going to cook fish for us. And I don't really like seafood that much. And it was kind of hot. But, so we had fish and rice and tortillas. The next day we had beef, mashed potatoes, and tortillas. And then the last day, the Hondurans had been saving up all their money ever since they found out that we were coming to make what is really a delicacy in their country, and it's seafood soup, which is that right there in the middle. Yeah. That's all I'll say about that. We were very appreciative, but, Right here is us praying over the house once it was completed, dedicating it to the Lord. This was us playing Scrabble one day after work. This was me making tortillas. And the sky and the sunsets were so pretty, so those are a couple pictures of that. This was at the women's conference that we had that Saturday with the women at the church. And then Dennis doesn't like this picture, but it's me on the beach in front of the Pacific Ocean. And it was really cool because you could see Nicaragua on one side and El Salvador on the other, so that was cool. And that's it for pictures. But now that I've told you about what I did in Honduras, I think it's more important that we talk about what God did.
Amen.
Because it's not about us and it's about Him. So while it is awesome that Miss Christina did get a new house and doesn't have to live in her plastic house anymore, what's even more amazing is what God allowed to happen while we were in Honduras. So that's what I really want to share with you and focus on. So first, he opened my eyes to see him differently. This is like my most favorite point. But about a week before I left for Honduras, Jennifer sent me a text message. And towards the end of the message, it said something like, I pray you go with open eyes to see God in a new and bigger way. You, my dear, will come home different for the good and for His glory. And as I read that, I realized, if I went, or when I got back especially, I realized that if I had gone to Honduras with a closed mind, a closed heart, closed eyes, I would have never been able to appreciate everything that God was allowing to take place there. I wouldn't have been able to appreciate how pretty the mountains were, or the sunsets, or the smiles of those Hondurans, or the spontaneous nighttime worship sessions on the porch when we were getting eaten alive by mosquitoes. I wouldn't have been able to appreciate those things. And so that's just proof that His timing is perfect. And this was when He wanted me to go to Honduras. This was His plan for me. 2 Corinthians 3, 14 through 16. If you want to turn there, you can, but I'm going to read it. It says, but their minds were hardened. For to this day, when they read the Old Covenant, that same veil remains unlifted, because only through Christ is it taken away. Yes, to this day, whenever Moses is read, a veil lies over their hearts. But when one turns to the Lord, the veil is removed. So without us asking God, to open our eyes that we can see Him in a bigger way that maybe we haven't before, we're not going to be able to see these things. So it's important that we turn to God for that. And in my devotion that I did while we were in Honduras, I said, without Jesus, we're ignorant, we're hard-hearted, and we're blind. And we are, because we're human. So it's important that we close our eyes in prayer each and every day and ask Him to open our eyes that we might see something new about Him every day. And the awesome thing about that is you don't have to be on a mission trip to do that. You can be right here at the food bank. So secondly, He taught me to trust Him by showing His providence and provision. I love those words. Because providence, that means that He's going to take care of us. It doesn't matter where we are, He's going to take care of us. He's going to look out for us.
Sure.
And provision, that means He's going to provide everything that we need. And He definitely did that while we were in Honduras. The first thing being our flights. I had never flown before this. And we got on this plane. I was kind of nervous. I had taken some motion sickness medicine. And lo and behold, on both flights, it was storming. It started storming. I was like, oh my goodness. And so as I was writing this down and thinking about it, I thought of a song that's called In the Eye of the Storm. And it says, in the eye of the storm, you remain in control. And then it says, your love surrounds me in the eye of the storm. And that was definitely true, because it started raining, and Daddy might have been sitting beside me, but I was praying. I was like, Lord, please let this rain stop. I don't want to get sick on this plane. And He took care of me. So secondly, with the rain at the work site, like I already mentioned, we didn't worry about it. Philippians 4:6 says, don't worry about anything, but pray about everything.